Orka Golf is a fairly new brand on the market, specialising in kind of custom built equipment. You can only really buy these through a custom fit specialist. They're making kind of what looks like real premium equipment. Specifically the forged models look really good. The oversized cavity back that they sent me here as well, the Reflex, looks pretty decent. I'm really interested to see what the RS10 performs like because it looks particularly sexy. Let's see how they perform. Check out the RS10 first from Orka. First impressions that I get, its aesthetics are absolutely fantastic. It looks in line with something like a forged TaylorMade or a Mizuno, something of a real premium nature. I do like the oriental little symbols in the back there, they look pretty sweet too. But Orka are actually suggesting that this is the finest club that they've ever made, and I'm not going to argue with them with that just yet. Certainly aesthetically I think it looks great. It's forged. No real surprise there for something that looks that good. It certainly looks like a forged club, no mistaking. They're telling us that it's forged 4 times, so it's quad forged. Now I didn't know whether you could forge something once, twice, 3 times or 4 times, but Orka have managed to forge this 4 times. If you're interested in the full technical specifications of the design, check out the website because there's quite a lot of it. Right, now the Reflex iron from Orka. First impressions, certainly not as aesthetically pleasing as the other model that we're testing here in this review, but for what it loses in its aesthetics, it gains in forgiveness, and Orka is suggesting that this is their most forgiving iron, and it's going to be popular with a lot of different types of golfers. Now this is actually still forged, believe it or not. When I first saw it I didn't realise that it was, but it is forged. It's also got a heat treated face as well to keep ball speeds up, so I'm going to expect this thing to go like a rocket. So first up, I'm going to hit the RS10 just to see how this thing feels and what it looks like behind the golf ball. Now, massive fan of this thing when it's sat in the bag. It looks great. It's going to be the envy of your playing partners, I would think. Down by the ball, although they're not going to get this viewpoint, it looks even better, to be honest. It looks great. It looks something like a Mizuno, TaylorMade again. Miura even looks fantastic. Shaft, great. Really like the brushed effect. Stops it from glaring on sunny days. It's kind of not going to blind you or anything. I do find that a little bit distracting sometimes when the shaft is glaring at you. Let's see what this thing feels like. Does it feel as good as it looks? It performs great. You're not going to see this on camera, but this is shortening the bunker. Bit long for me this hole today, into a slight wind, but that felt really nice. Wasn't the best strike, but it still felt okay. Again, pretty solid. Not sure whether this is as soft as some other of the forged irons that I've hit. It feels great, but I'm not sure whether it feels as soft as something like a Mizuno or Miura or something like that. Best one, but the feedback's good. You can tell where you're hitting a golf ball from this, and even though this isn't a complete flat backed blade, you still get some feedback through the shaft. Yeah, I do like that. Right, next up, the Reflex iron from Orka. We've just hit the forged, really impressed with it. Let's see what this bad boy does. This feels longer. I'm not sure whether it is. I haven't got the club at hand to find out either, but it does feel a little bit longer, this. The head shape, not to my liking. It's quite rounded. My preference would be to have sort of quite squared off angles and things. I do like that in an iron. This is quite round. Not crazy on that. But then again, this isn't really aimed at a golf pro, really. I guess this is more of a sort of mid to high handicapper type of thing. Looks quite strong lofted, and looking at the specs on the website, they are pretty strong, even by today's standards. So this thing's probably going to go like a rocket. And that sounds like it's going to go a long way. You probably pick that up through the camera. That kind of sounds like you're hitting a hybrid more than an iron. said earlier on, but it certainly feels polished. You're getting some feedback through the head. Even when you catch it a little bit thin, you get that feeling. And looking at the distance from that, I didn't hit that grip, but I still got a little bit more distance than what I did out the RS10. That's probably to be expected. The lofts on these fellas are pretty strong. Both the Orka models are rocking the KBS shafts, one of which is quite standard really. KBS Tour 105 stiff flex that they sent me, and we've got the KBS Tour C-taper 20 gram shaft, and certainly that is one thing that I picked up on when actually hitting these. One actually does feel quite heavy and one does feel quite light. The Reflex does feel very light, whereas the RS10 does feel a lot heavier. Grips wise, got the lambkin, got the ECX grips on these, feel great, especially on a warm day like this. They feel really quite tacky. So if you're a player that maybe doesn't always wear a glove, a grip like that is probably going to work out quite nicely for you. So that's the on-course testing done for these two very different golf clubs from Orka. Let's take them to the coaching room, hit some balls on the flight scope and see what the numbers are like. Okay, so that's the range testing done. Let's take a look at some of these numbers. Now, first of all, the Reflex iron carry distance 215 total, with the RS10 being 202. I'd expect the distance to be a little bit more with the Reflex, with it having a lower loft. I've got a total distance of 227 with the Reflex, 214 with the RS10. Again, I'd expect that because of the extra loft. The spin rate is a little bit higher with the RS10. We're kind of looking in around the 4,000, just above mark, which is still quite low for that particular type of club, the 6 iron, but that's because of the range balls that I was hitting. Even though they are very good range balls, the spin rate just tends to drop off a little bit. The spin rate on the Reflex iron was even lower, sort of 3,700 RPM, which is particularly low. You're going to get a little bit more with a premium golf ball if you're using a premium ball, but I'd just be a little bit concerned for the better player as to how hot that 6 iron is coming into greens. So overall, very impressed with both of these clubs, particularly the RS10. More so on looks than performance. It doesn't necessarily perform any better than irons in the same category, the better player irons, but just on the sheer looks of the thing, it's a real winner for me. The Reflex, not the sort of club that I would necessarily go for, but this review's not based on what I'd use, it's what you'd use. So if you're somebody, a mid-handicap player, something like that, that's looking for some extra yardage, this is definitely going to be the type of club up your street. So I definitely recommend going to a Orka test centre. Give these a try, see what you think. If you enjoyed today's review, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure you press that red button. I'll see you all again soon. Take care.